my belief is just treat everybody with respect. You know? Whether he's a white belt or whether it's a yellow belt or black belt, I treat everyone with respect until they prove me wrong. You know? Then okay, I don't need to treat you with my respect. You don't get my respect. But whoever I meet, I will always treat anybody with respect first.
Simon, thanks for being here. Appreciate your time. And I was thinking, I know I told you before I started hitting record, I didn't have anything planned. I have one thing planned. Because I always try to come up with how do we start? And everything I came up with to start for you seemed really boring. So that's kind of what we're going to do. What's the worst question an interviewer's ever asked you?
I cannot remember
Okay, that's
because
good.
I I probably have a tendency to forget bad questions.
All right, then let's go the other way. See, I had a backup plan. What's the best question you've ever been asked?
I can't remember that either. Because I feel like we're just talking, and
Yeah.
and most of the time when I do this, the host would ask me questions, and I would answer, and then we just go back and forth. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what we do here.
good.
What I've found over the years is we've got to have a place to start, even if it's not a good one, because otherwise people just kind of sit there and we just kind of look at each other. And how do you start from nothing, right? It's like sparring. How do you start if both people bow and they just kind of stand there? Somebody's got to start moving. Somebody's got to do something. So that gives us our
So
place to
sound like
start.
we're both defensive fighters right now.
Yes, yeah. Are you? I am. I absolutely am. And I
I
just
am. I'm
I
a
just like
counter fighter too.
yeah, yeah. And that doesn't always leave a lot of people with options, right? Like just kind of wait. And especially if you're a counter fighter and a better fighter, then they get nervous.
Hmm. So let's talk about Mr. Mike Stone. How's that? You know Mike Stone,
Okay.
right?
I do. I do. Had a great chat with Mr. Stone. Maybe it's 2 years ago now. How do you
Hmm.
know Mike?
Well, in 1980, well, I guess it's before probably 79. I was competing in a tournament, and I send you the picture.
Yeah.
Um, he's refereeing my fight, and I'm kicking this guy in the face, and somehow the Karate Illustrated magazine caught that shot. So I sent a picture to Mr. Mike Stone. I said, Mr. Stone, you were refereeing my fight, and I'm kicking this guy in the face, and Karate Illustrated magazine, caught this picture, and I've been wanting to share this picture with you. And so, like in May of this year, we were both in England for a UK martial art show. So I was able to pull up that picture and show it to him after what, 40, 50 years later, you know, and
And he
he was,
hadn't seen it.
no, he hasn't seen it. So he was
Oh,
like,
what a trip.
wow, this is amazing. And then another amazing thing happened like last week. He's visiting in LA, and last Thursday, he was going to teach a seminar at his old student Steve Fisher's school. So I went to see his teaching. So I went to Steve Fisher's school, and guess who's there? The guy that I kicked him in the face. His name was
No,
Manny Johnson. He was there. And he goes, Simon, I heard you have a picture of you kicking me in the face. Do you still have it? I was like, yeah, I do. And I was able to show it to him. And then, Mr. Stone came in. It was like,
yeah,
it was very, very interesting moment,
fun.
to share that with Mr. Mike Stone and Mr. Manny Johnson. So that's how
No,
my last week was.
that's a I enjoy when things come full circle, right? It doesn't matter how long happens in between. That sort of synchronicity is really fun. And when I all I can think when you're talking about these connections with Mike Stone is I've heard a number of people say, martial arts, yeah, there are a lot of people in martial arts, but the moment you get up even a little bit, you move up a little bit in rank or time, it gets so much smaller.
Mm.
And when I've had folks on who were around and competing in the 70s and the 80s, you all knew each other.
Mm-hmm. So,
And
Jeremy, are you a black belt?
I am.
On what style?
I've been very blessed. I have rank in karate and in taekwondo and with someone I'm going to guess from somewhere along the way, Bill Wallace.
Oh, Bill gave you a black belt? Interesting. Where are you from? Where are you right now,
Uh,
Jeremy?
I live in the northeast of the U.S. I'm in Maine right now.
I see. I see. And matter of fact, Bill Wallace was in UK too, in the
I
May.
I was pretty sure he's got a route that he takes annually. It's if I'm remembering correctly, I think I've heard him say it's 14 seminars in 8 days, and I was
Hmm.
pretty sure that that was the anchor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Bill Wallace and I, we go way back to like 1975, 1976, when my Taekwondo instructor, Master Jun Chong, he purchased Chuck Norris's school on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. So I would go there, and Bill Wallace would come, Mr. Chuck Norris would come, Mr. Joe Lewis would come, and we would all spar, and it was just the best of time. And I was like 18 years old, 17, 18 years old, and we were
People
all,
listening and not watching, you should see the grin on Simon's face right now as he's remembering this.
yeah,
Just
I mean, it's
just
just,
ear to ear smile.
we were so like young and happy and fast and just, it was the best of my
Yeah.
time. And the one thing I loved about sparring with Bill Wallace is he's a left leg kicker and I'm a left leg kicker. His favorite kick is front leg hook kick. My favorite kick is front leg hook kick. So we had a lot of good sparrings. And then when I opened my own school, we had a sparring night, I think Tuesday night or something, and he would always come to my school and we would have sparring nights, and it was so much fun. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
he moved somewhere, so I haven't seen him for a long time. And when I saw him again in England, I was really happy to see him. You know.
Yeah, he's such a great guy, turning 80 this year. Just
Wow,
still kicks better than I ever have or will.
wow.
You're my third of four conversations today, and there's a theme that's going through at least the first two, that it's about the training. That when you put yourself around people who love training, that the training is the priority. Things are very different than when you were with people who, let's say, rank or hierarchy or associations are the priority. Would you agree?
Okay. I mean, my I think the training comes from a motivation. Are you motivated enough to train? I mean, my motivation was, I don't know if you are aware of a author named Chong Lee. He wrote Dynamic Kicks. I don't know if you ever seen that book.
I've heard of that book. I'm not familiar with the author.
Okay. So I'm Korean. Chung Lee is Korean. Back in like late 70s, we both had like really long hair because that was in style. And he was like, he had really, really beautiful kicks. And he came out with this book called, Dynamic Kicks. And like 1974, 1975, he won the like a Korean style form competition in
Mhm.
Long Beach International. So I moved to Los Angeles in 1976, and my motivation was to be better than him, you know. So every night after I finished teaching, I'm not exaggerating, I think I threw about 1,000 kicks before going home. And just every inch I could, if I could tweak it, what can I do to make my kick look better than, Chung Lee? And he was my motivation. So by keep practicing my kicks for like, I don't know how many years, 1980, a Black Belt magazine picked me for having the most beautiful kicks in the nation. So I felt like I accomplished what I was trying to accomplish. But now at my age 68, 2013, I had to get a hip replacement surgery. In 2020, I had to get my other hip replacement surgery. So, when you train back in like late 70s, early 80s, I didn't have all the knowledge of medical, you know, the resources that you could look. I just trained like crazy. And then now I feel like, okay, I achieved what I wanted to achieve, but now I'm paying the price for what I've, done. So training is good, but don't overdo it. Think about your life in the future.
Sure. Sure. Was Why was it important that you be a better kicker than Chung Lee? Why him?
Why him? Well, he had a school in Tarzana, and I was teaching in Los Angeles, and the distance was about 20-25 miles. And in tournament circuit back in those days, everyone was saying, "Oh, Chong Li had the most. He's got the best kicks," and I wanted that to change. I wanted people to say, "No, Simon Rhee's got the best kicks," you know. So that's why I wanted to beat him. And then when I first started training and started competing, my instructor, Master Jun Chong, he was very traditionalist, and like starting mid 70s, people were coming up with all this colorful uniform. George Chung was using music in his form competition, and my instructor wouldn't let me compete using my own form. I had to use traditional form, and I wasn't winning. So I said, Master Chung, please don't be mad at me, but I'm going to get a black pants and I'm going to start using some gymnastic moves in my form, and I hope you don't get mad at me. I just want to win, and if I win, I win for you. It's not for me. So he said he softened up and he said, okay. So I was able to finally wear like black pants with a white top, and use a little bit of gymnastic moves, and I feel like George Chung, Ernie Reyes, Cynthia Rothrock, like we were all competing against each other at the time. And John Chung from Junior School, East Coast, So yeah, those were the fun days.
It's when I look at those times, when I look at that early to mid 80s competitive era, it launched so many people. And of course, plenty of people know you from what you went on to from your competitions. But I think, wondering if you agree, I think people underestimate how much tournaments during that time changed martial arts.
Do you think tournament changed martial arts back in those
I,
days?
I think so. For the very thing that you said, your instructor was such a traditionalist, and he wasn't alone. I grew up in an environment like that,
Mm-hmm.
and we started to see what was happening in competitions, and you had to start making some adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a lot of schools, some of those adjustments came back into the school.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it was in the 70s, late 70s, that tournaments started to change a little bit. But I think like martial arts started to change a little bit also when all the kung fu movies start coming out. And when my brother and I started watching these movies, like they were killing people, sex, drugs, gratuity violence, fighting just for sake of fighting. And my brother and I felt like this is not a true martial art. Martial arts should teach, discipline and respect. And so we were kind of like unsatisfied with those movies. I mean, I enjoyed watching the fight scene. It was cool, but especially those Chinese kung fu movies when it's over the top, people flying all over the place and stuff, and then just for sake of fighting, I thought that was just not that cool. And then all the tournament that I've been to and the things that I experienced and all the tournament that my brother's been to and what he experienced, you know, we wanted to capture something really, really true in martial arts. So that's where the best of the best idea came. My brother, he's brilliant. He goes like, he went to compete in Korea, and even though he was Korean, he was representing USA, and so he felt some like hate from Koreans in Korea, and he was like, I never felt that before. And then all the things that we experienced, we sat down and we talked about it, and then Philip decided to come up with the idea of making best of the best, and yeah, that's how it came about.
Did you think it was a crazy idea, a great idea, something else?
I liked the idea, and by that time that was like my third movie, second movie, one, two, three. No, that would be my fourth movie, and I didn't know how the movie was gonna come out. And another interesting thing was, you seen the movie, right, Jeremy? At the end, when I'm giving the medal to my brother,
Mhm.
I was supposed to speak in Korean, and Sally Kirkland, our lady coach, she was gonna translate it in English. But somehow that day, she wasn't feeling well. So my brother came up to me and goes, Simon, you're going to have to do your line in broken English now. And here I am. I've been practicing Korean, to say all these things. I was like, oh, okay. So it just kind of threw me off. But somehow I think that it worked out better that I did it in broken English and it was able to reach more audience. And I mean, we made that movie almost what 40 years ago, 1989, and we still get fan mails and emails, and we're putting on like conventions, and it's amazing what that movie's done for people.
Yeah, those 80 movies are absolutely golden. And if you, I mean, I have a few that I watched back in the 80s that I look at now, and on the one hand, they weren't always great movies, but they meant something. And especially as a a kid training in the 80s, and it was a big deal. We would go rent a VCR and we'd rent a couple movies, and I'd watch that movie 2 3 times over the weekend.
What is your
And
favorite ladies movie?
probably Kickboxer.
Jean Claude.
Yeah, it's probably Kickboxer. um, my mother was a big Van Damme fan. That was her vote whenever we would go rent movies. She said, he's probably going to have a scene where he's not wearing a shirt. And so it was mom's money. I didn't get to push back too often.
So I work with Jean Claude on Universal Soldiers, and we did some sparring together, and he liked the way I sparred. So he goes, Simon, would you teach my kids? I said, sure. So I started teaching Christian and Bianca. Is that Bianca? It's been so long. Anyway, so I used to teach private lessons long, long time ago. And then
Fun.
one time, the kids were testing. So it was like Saturday afternoon or something. So Jean-Claude came to see his kids test. Oh, you should have seen the parking lot, Jeremy. Just
I believe it.
people went crazy. There
Yeah.
could have been a few car accidents that day. So
He was at his peak. I mean, he
yeah.
had done something. He had a certain kind of charisma on
Mhm.
screen, and
Yeah.
I don't know that I can describe it. You can see it, but there was just something about him that seemed genuine, understated, I think is the word I would use.
I think back in those days, it was so brand new. Like how Steven Seagal came out, doing Aikido. It was such a new art, you know, and like Chuck Norris was using just regular Tangsudo, and I guess Jean Claude was a little bit more karate. So I guess yeah,
It was new, it was different, it was fun, and as much as it might be for me, as much as it might be movies on the weekends, it was Ninja Turtles during the week.
Ninja Turtles.
You had a school then, you know how big that impact was.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, a couple of my students were Ninja Turtles, and
Not a lot of
and
people get to say that.
yeah, I mean, there were a lot, and then like Power Rangers. A couple of my
Yeah.
students became Power Rangers, and yeah, I've taught a lot. All the what is it, Cobra Kai,
Mhm.
like Zolo, Mary, Tanner, Jacob. I trained them like 2 weeks before their season would start. The stunt coordinator Hirokota would call me and say, "Hey, can you train them before season starts?" So I would train them. Also, Martin Cove and William Zepka. I would train those 6 people about 2 weeks before season start, and then the following seasons, I trained them another 2 weeks. So that's really cool.
When you're doing that, because I assume you're not teaching, you're not doing stunt work, you're not doing choreography with them. So what
Well,
do you what are
first,
you
yeah,
working with them on?
first of all, I would make sure that their techniques are clean, and also they would know all the names of blocks and punches and kicks. And then after that, once they get proficient with that, then I would give them some fight choreography so that they learn to remember techniques and choreography. So I really had a lot of fun training with the Cobra Kai cast people. They were so nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's um, those names. We Cobra Kai was big. We after season one, we had some almost with some interviews, and just we couldn't get the timing right because everyone's schedule was just so swamped. But
Mm-hmm.
we've had a number of people. We've had a few people come on from various iterations of Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, and um, had one that would have come on, but of course he passed before that could happen.
Ooh, is that Jason?
You're what's that?
Are you talking Jason? Jason
Yeah,
Frank?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We talked to Jason and both Andrew and I think Andrew was even more excited than I was that we were going to have Jason on the show, and just it's a reminder that we all we all struggle at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. Did he have a depression? Is that what that was?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
my understanding. I don't want to speak for him or his family, but
Right.
um, that was what came out was that. he had been battling with depression, and depression won.
So I've worked with him when he was a
Mm.
Power Ranger. Our director, who directed Best of the Best, he was directing one episode of Power Ranger, and he wanted me to come in, be a judge in a sparring competition. So I went, and I think it was Jason who was sparring with some other person, and I remember meeting him, and he was very young at that time, and he was good. He moved really well. Yes. And then many years later, I hear that he passed away. So it's
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. I'm
So
wondering about being in LA and being around such a different martial arts culture, because so many of the people out there, they want to go on to movies. They want to go, they want to make it that aspect of a profession. Whereas, here I am in the Northeast, and for most of us out here, if we have a martial arts dream, it's I want to open a school.
mm,
Do you think being so close to Hollywood changed what people wanted to learn?
I think that would have some kind of an effect on people in Los Angeles. I would agree with that, and also seeing a lot of celebrities training, you know.
Mm,
But for me, Bruce Lee, watching him on the screen, I'm going, hey, I know how to do those kicks, and that's why I wanted to get into the movies. And it's not easy, Jeremy. Like 1975, I was visiting my instructor in Los Angeles. Well, he wasn't my instructor yet, but Master Jun Chung came up to San Francisco when I was training in San Francisco and living there, and he taught a couple of classes for us, and I really liked him. I loved the way he kicked. So 1975, when I was visiting Los Angeles, I called him. I said, Master Chung, I'm visiting Los Angeles. Can I come and see you? And he goes, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm shooting a movie tomorrow in Long Beach, junkyard. So stop by and do a little fight scene with me." So I said, "Yes, sir." So me and my brother, we went to a Long Beach junkyard. Check out the name of this movie. It's called Bruce Lee Fight Back from the Grave. So this is like right after Bruce Lee passed away. They were putting in Bruce Lee's name in everything that they were making. So we did a fight scene at Long Beach, and somehow that movie got released. Oh, the movie was with a Korean director. So, I didn't think the movie was going to be released in the United States because I thought that movie was just for Korea. And then the year after that, somehow that movie got released and we were able to watch it in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard. So I was like, wow, so that's what I look like on a big screen doing all those kicks. And I really wanted to do it. So from 1975, I did the movie. 1976, our family moved to Los Angeles. And it wasn't until 1986 I was able to join Screen Actors Guild. So it took me 11 years after I did my first movie to be able to join the union. So, yeah, it's not easy trying to get into Hollywood just so that
no.
everyone else would know, unless you know somebody.
I've heard that from so many people, that
Yeah.
it's so many people have that dream, and there are hundreds, thousands of hopefuls for any one role.
Hmm. Yeah. Jeremy, have you seen my YouTube show with Michelle Carre, by any chance?
Oh, no, tell me about that.
So there's a YouTuber named Michelle Carre, and she has about a 5 million followers. And she does this program called Challenge Accepted. And she trained to become Secret Service agent, FBI agent, Houdini tricks. So she does a lot of these things. And she came to me and she goes, Mastery, I want to know if I could become a black belt in 90 days. So will you teach me? So I said, Michelle, you came to a wrong person because if you're trying to get a black belt in 90 days, you're not going to get it from me because I even flunked my sons when they were testing and when they made 3 mistakes. So no, you came to a wrong person. And she goes, that's exactly what I want. I want somebody who's willing to flunk me and don't just pass me. So I said, okay, well, if you're willing to take that risk, I'll teach you, but I'm not going to guarantee you black belt. So then she agreed to that. So she started taking private lessons every day, and
For how long? An hour,
one
two?
hour private lessons, and
How
and
how long were the lessons?
1 hour,
1 hour. Okay.
yeah. And then soon as we were finished, I could tell she was really dedicated. She would write it all down, everything that we did, and so in my system, you have to test like 13 times because we have 13 different belt systems to become a black belt. So when we did the math, she had to test once a week to become a black belt in 90 days. So every week when I was testing her, I didn't want to test her by myself. I wanted to have someone who's like in martial arts for a long time as a witness. So one of the testing I had, a couple of my testing, I had my brother Philip with me. I had my good friend James Liu with me. I had Benny the Jet with me.
Hmm.
I had George Chung, the owner of Black Belt Magazine, with me, so that every testing I had a witness to make sure that I wasn't just giving her the black belt. And this show came out a few months back, and it came out so beautifully. If
Mm.
you've seen Best of the Best, it has that tone from a woman's point of view. So please watch it when you get a chance.
I will, and it's maybe it's my fault because Andrew has sent me the link and he said you need to watch this. He said
Oh,
it's
Andrew saw
really
it?
good.
Oh, Andrew saw
Uh,
it. He saw it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. He um, didn't tell me anything about it other than it was really well done and I needed to watch it. Andrew doesn't usually tell me I need to watch things, so it is on my list and you just moved it far up my list. So
okay.
thank you.
So, by the way, I haven't met Andrew. Why is he not on the? Uh,
It, it's a one-on-one conversation. He does some episodes himself, but um, he's the producer. He's more on the back end
okay.
of things. He's a good guy. He's a great friend.
Yeah.
Lucky to get to work with him.
And he's also in Massachusetts too?
He's in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire? Okay.
Yeah. So when you look at something like that project, like testing this woman weekly, and we don't have to give out spoilers, but when you see someone who I imagine at least early on was able to move along well enough that there was a final product. If she couldn't pass the first test or two, I would guess it wouldn't be a very interesting video. Did that change any of your thoughts on people learning martial arts and how long belts maybe should take?
Well, let me go back a little bit.
Sure.
So when she wanted me to teach her, I said no at first,
Hmm.
and then she told me to, and I watched some of her things that she did, earlier, And one of the things that she did, it was she took boxing lessons from this Olympian. And I think she did that same thing, 90 days worth of boxing training from this Olympian boxer. And she went inside the ring and fought, competed against professional female boxer. And she broke her nose. But she still won the fight. So I said, well, this lady has something, you know.
Yeah.
So that intrigued me. And then she also did some background search on me. She went around and asked, I want to learn Taekwondo and I want to see if I could get a black belt. Who should I go to? And I guess a lot of people told her to come to me, you know. So when she came to me, she started naming some of the people that I knew. This so and so told me to go to you. So and so told me to go to you. So I said, okay, well, let's try it. And like, you know, I had nothing to lose. If she wasn't going to be good enough, I was going to fail her. And she was okay with that, you know.
Okay.
So I started teaching and they're like, you know, I don't want to spoil the ending, but you know, you have to see it.
Yeah. Keeping you excited about martial arts. I can
learning
tell you're
new,
still excited.
learning new things. I love
Okay.
learning new things.
Okay.
Like I studied Taekwondo, I studied Hapkido, I studied Wing Chun. I took some private lessons from Jean-Jacques Machado for some, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, uh, Filipino martial arts under, you know, Guru Dan Inosantos, his son-in-law Ron Balicki, Diana Inosantos, and judo from Hayward Nishioka. You know, I just love learning new things and being able to share what I learned with my students. Because, you know, if you teach same thing all the time over and over and over, it gets boring, you know.
It does.
So I love learning new things and sharing new things. I mean, that's the reason why I went to go see Mr. Mike Stone teach a class last week. You know, because you know, here's Master Mike Stone, and I one and only original karate instructor. You know, and he got his black belt in 6 months. So, so I wanted to see him teach, and he's 82 years old, and he still moves amazingly well. You know, but yeah, that's what excites me.
So what are you learning now? Where is your training focused?
Right now, my focus is so I used to be a stunt coordinator for Warner Brothers, a TV show called Lucifer. So I did season number 6 on that, a little bit of season number 5. As soon as I was done with that, I started to do American Horror Stories, season 1, season 2. And then now the business is really slow in Los Angeles. There's like not too many production is going on. So I'm getting a lot of interest from all the actors that I've worked with. They're saying, Simon, you should do conventions because you go to conventions, you know, you sign pictures and you take pictures with your fans, and you know the income is pretty good. And I've always kind of avoided that because I don't like crowds. You know, I don't. So even though I've been invited to come to Comic Con in San Diego, like I didn't want to go because it's just, people tell me it's like thousands and thousands of people there. So this in May, when I went to England with my brother, I was taken back because there was 500 people waiting in line that wanted to take pictures with Philip and I, and they were paying all this money. And Jeremy, I was like, wow. I guess because we always lived in Los Angeles, you know, Los Angeles, you see actors all the time, so you get kind of jaded. but you're way out in England, and these people were just so happy to see you, meet you, talk to you, shake your hand, take pictures. And I couldn't believe people were waiting in line for 4 or 5 hours just to take pictures with us, you know? So now, after that experience, I talked to my brother, like, maybe we should go to more conventions because it makes our fans happy, and we get to make a little bit of money. It's a win-win situation. So
Everybody
that's what I'm
wins.
concentrating on now.
And I think that's great. And I think it's so, I know what it's been like for me because of what we do and some of the connections I've made, some of the people who have been on the other side of the screen, or sometimes I even get to sit down with them in person
Hmm.
and have conversations with people that have meant a lot to me. The one that was most important was Fumio Demura when I
Oh,
got to talk to him.
wow.
Meant, and I was thinking about him just yesterday, and pardon, I'll probably tear up again. Um, when I was done with my conversation with him, I cried. I
Mm.
just, the recording stopped. I cried
Why? May I ask
because
why?
he meant so much to me.
Mm.
He meant so much to me, both directly knowing who he was and the impact that he's had on martial arts,
Hmm.
but also indirectly because without him, how many of the people that meant a lot to me would never have trained or would have trained differently, would have had less competent training? And I imagine that every one of those people waiting in line 5 hours to talk to you and your brother felt something similar, that your movies, the contributions you've made mean something to them and bettered their lives.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that you're going to do more of that because I don't think there are a lot of places in the world where when you meet your heroes, we'll say, that they tend to be really good people. But the heroes that we have in the martial arts, I mean, you've named and talked about, trained with quite a few of them. They're good people. Bill Wallace is good people. Mike Stone
Hmm.
is good people.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Joe Lewis, the stories that I've heard, the best stories I've heard about Joe Lewis are private stories that I can't even talk about how good of a man he was.
Hmm. That's great. I love that. And that's the kind of legacy that me and my brother wants to leave behind too. Um, do you know who Master Pong Suhan is by any chance?
Yes, I do. Keto guy, and he did all the choreography on Billy Jack.
There you go. Good. So I did a movie called Kentucky Fried Movie with him, and there was a scene where he has to call all these Chinese names to go fight the prisoners that was coming out. So he goes, Simon, I don't know any Chinese names. Can you give me some recommendations? I don't know any Chinese names. So I said, Master Han, why don't you just use Chinese food name? Like, mushu pork, you know, chow mein, And I said that in a joking manners. And he goes, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. And he really did that in the movies, and they kept it. And people, when they were watching, they were laughing so hard. And it was like, that was very funny. But what touched me the most was he was so gentle. And like when he passed away, I went to his funeral. And before entering the funeral hall, all his black belts, there was about 20, 30, 40 black belts lined, like outside before you could walk in. And every time, somebody came, they all like bowed at the same time, as the guests were walking in. And it just touched me like how these students love and respect their teachers so much. They would do things like that for their instructor. And I felt that really deep, and I just hope that one day when I'm gone, that my students would, love me enough to do something like that.
Suspect.
Respect and
I
love. Yeah.
suspect that's the case. Yeah, and there's something really interesting that I see in the arts, and it's that the people who ask most for respect are the ones that seem to have the least respect from the people around them, and you know we get a little bit of an inside thing. The audience may not know. Of course, there are emails or things that go back and forth. We ask you to fill out a quick form. How do you want me to refer to you? What's your title? And most of the people that I get to talk to, they'll say, here's my formal title, but as you did, just call me Simon.
Hmm.
And I think that it's really difficult to feel the sort of love and adoration that you're talking about that, Bong Han's students had from, unless you can relate to that person as a person.
Hmm. So there is a very famous DJ named Big Boy in Los Angeles, and he's syndicated, so he's all over the United States.
Mm.
He used to weigh like 600 pounds, but now he's he's much slimmer now. So anyway, he's an African American, and one day he walked into my school. So he goes, "So if I want to take a lesson from you, do I have to call you Master Rhee? Because I'm a black man and I might have a problem calling you Master." I said, "I understand, I get it. Um, reason why you have to call me Master when I'm teaching you is because I'm going to be start teaching you how to kick and punch. And when people learn to fight, and that's all you learn, it's a human nature to become aggressive. So to counterbalance that, we have to humble ourselves. That's why we bow. That's why we say yes or no, sir. That's why you say, master or mister. And and only time you have to call me master is on the mat. Outside the school, I'm just like you. You could call me Simon, or you could call me whatever you want. You know. So take a half an hour private lesson and see if you like the way I teach. And if you don't like the way I teach, you don't even have to pay me. Just go your way. So I gave him a private lesson, and after that, he signed up his whole family. And every time he calls me now, he goes, "Mastery, place to be." you know, yeah, it's a nice memory of someone that I taught before.
That title master can, and regardless of someone's background, can be a really difficult term. And maybe I'm maybe lucky isn't the right word, but I don't have to face it. As I teach karate. I teach karate from an Okinawan tradition, so I'm sensei.
Hmm.
People don't have sensei doesn't mean anything in English. We don't have to fight one meaning versus the next, and how it works. But I've always wondered if master maybe wasn't the best translation from Korean or from Chinese. Maybe we needed a different word.
You have a point there. Yeah, and I never liked being called master. And there are people who has to be called by grandmaster or supreme grandmaster, and I hate that. I are you so like insecure that you want people to call you grandmaster or supreme grandmaster? We're all human beings.
Mhm.
And if you're not my teacher, I don't need to call you grandmaster. And that's just my feelings. You know.
Too many people fill out, talking about that form. I've only had a couple people fill out the form and really insist on being called grandmaster. who I felt, and I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, and to the audience, if I'm forgetting someone, please forgive me. But there are two people who really wanted to be called Grandmaster, who had made significant contributions, and one of them shares your name,
Are you gonna name him?
Junri.
Okay. You interviewed Grandmaster Junri before he passed
Yeah,
away?
yeah.
I have no problem calling him Grandmaster.
Mm,
Um, he thought of me like a son because we had the
mm,
same last name, and a lot of people thought I was his son. But he's the first person to bring Taekwondo to the United States, and he did a lot of good things for Taekwondo by teaching the senators and all that, and he was ahead of his time. He was like teaching Taekwondo with using classical music and stuff like
mm,
that, and so I met him in 1986, and I went to his seminar in Dallas, Fort Worth, yeah, Texas, and we had to sleep at the Taekwondo school. It was like weekend seminar, and I've learned a lot from him. And like at that time in my mind, if I have a Taekwondo school, if the school next to me is charging $100, my mind was maybe if I charge $90, I would get more students. That was my thinking. But he taught me something else because no, 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 you don't want to do that. If the person is charging $100, you want to charge 150. I'm going, Grandmaster Rhee, then no one's gonna sign up. He goes, they will sign up if you prove to them that you are better than them. That's why they're paying more. And then he told me about people driving Toyota and Mercedes, the difference, and like that's when I opened my eyes, like, okay. And I wasn't afraid to charge more, after that. But yeah, I think he deserves that title, don't you, Jeremy?
I do. I do because I think I was brought up that the further your progression into the martial arts, the broader your responsibility got.
Hmm.
When you're young, when you're a low rank, young in your training, you're responsible for you. Maybe you get to, red, brown, shodan, and you start being responsible maybe for a few other people, maybe for some younger students. You keep going. Maybe you're an assistant instructor. Maybe you open your own school. But as you go up in rank, your responsibility grows. And I think very few martial artists make a substantial contribution at that level. And he did. He
Hmm.
made a huge contribution. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think there are too many people in the history of martial arts that made a bigger contribution than Junri.
yeah. Also, the safety equipment that he came up with. Because
Hmm.
remember, we used to spar with bare hand and bare knuckles. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
who's the other person that wanted to be called Grandmaster?
the other one I don't want to say because
Okay.
we've had others and that I did call Grandmaster because especially in the early days of this show, I wasn't as confident in what I do, and so I took the way I handled the show the way I would handle training in a class, and so whatever someone's title was, I used that, and now I've learned the title because we're not training is actually a barrier. It's hard for me to have the kind of conversations I want to have with someone when I'm nodding my head, bowing from a chair and yes sir, and sometimes I'll have a guest who thinks of me that way, and I'm like, no, please don't. We're
Yeah.
two martial artists having a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, like, especially in Taekwondo, one experience that I felt was that if let's say you're a master or grandmaster or whatever, then carry yourself like a master or grandmaster. You know, I go to some Taekwondo tournaments and I see these masters wearing suit and tie and smoking cigarette outside. How does that look to a younger kid students? You know, or they're out of shape. And one time there was a demonstration team from Korea. They came to this stadium, so I wanted to see them. I got invited, so I went to go see it with my family. So as I was walking in, there was a arrow saying "Masters Only." You know, so I was trying to go to the side where all the masters were sitting, and this person stops me because I'm not wearing suit and tie. You know, I'm just wearing regular street clothes. He goes, "No, you can't go that way. This is for masters only." So I said, "Well, I'm a master." He goes, "No, you don't understand. You got to be a real master." I was like, "Oh wow!" But luckily,
Because
someone that was
if you
already
take
sitting.
off your suit and tie, you're not a master now.
See, so luckily, someone that was already sitting there. They said, "Oh, that's real. Master Rhee. Let him come in." So I went in and sat there, and I just didn't. I don't like that. Why do you have to wear a suit and tie when you go to a tournament or see a demonstration? You know, I think you should be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's something you can show respect in a lot of different ways. You can respect someone else, right? In a lot of different ways. You can make me act like I respect you, but you can't make me respect you.
absolutely
I
correct.
can pretend to respect someone and put on a suit and tie, or I can show up in my street clothes and be far more respectful if I
Totally
feel
agree
it.
with you. I totally agree with you. And my belief is just treat everybody with respect. You know, whether he's a white belt or whether he's a yellow belt or black belt, I treat everyone with respect until they prove me wrong. Then okay, I don't need to treat you with my respect. You don't get my respect. But
Yeah.
whoever I meet, I will always treat anybody with respect first.
And then sometimes, and unfortunately this has happened in the in the martial arts world, maybe I don't respect the person, but I can respect the rank. I can respect their accomplishments. I can respect their skill. Because martial artists are human. They're not all perfect.
Right.
Some of them forget the lessons they teach.
And don't you question ranks sometime? Like when somebody goes, "Oh, I'm a 10th degree black belt." I I laugh like, "Oh wow, you're 10th degree black belt. Okay, I'll just go with it." But like, you know, who gave you that 10th degree black belt? Was there 11th degree black belt that gave you a 10th degree? You know. So yeah, we do have some.
I think we're going to end up with either 15th degrees or rank is going to blow up and it's not going to mean anything. I don't think we're too long from that because there are so many people. I'm 46. I feel I've earned the ranks that I have. I'm not a 10th degree. I'm not on track to be one anytime soon. And I know people younger than me that have 10th degree black belts. Okay. So you're not going to get promoted for the next 50 years?
Yeah,
You've gone as far as you can at 38?
yeah,
That's depressing.
yeah, yeah. I know. There's something wrong with the ranking system. I wish I wish it could be better, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't have the answer for it. You know.
I think I don't know what the answer is either. We're doing some different things in our school. Um, but I think what it really comes down to, I think people recognizing that the rank in my school isn't supposed to equate to the rank in your school. A blue belt in my school doesn't have to look anything like a blue belt in your school.
Absolutely correct. I agree with you. And my ranking is different from traditional Taekwondo ranking because I
Hmm.
adapted my instructor's ranking system. You
How
know,
does it differ?
my instructor's ranking system is like, you know, white, yellow is beginner, purple, orange is intermediate, and then it's blue, green. But in Korea, it's green and blue first. You know,
Mhm.
but his system is blue, green. It's like at the beginning advanced level, and then red and black is advanced level. So that is a little bit different. And then when I was taking Taekwondo in Korea, I knew that green came before blue, but I noticed in Master Chung School, blue came before greens. And I just took his system and I just kept it and using it. And just like you said, my blue belt might be different from your blue belt, but only thing that I love to just really push my students is that, especially when they're white belt, I try to make sure that their kicks are correct.
Mhm.
I cannot stand seeing a black belt that do not know how to throw a proper roundhouse kick. Just it kills me, you know. So if you get a black belt from me, you better know how to kick correctly, you know.
There's only one thing that I think bugs me more that I see wrong on black belts than when they very clearly don't know their basics. It's when they don't know how to tie their belt.
Oh my god.
That one hurts my heart
Yeah,
every time.
yeah, yep. I can't
And I
believe
just
I can't believe there's instructors out there that's willing to just take the money and let them get away with that.
yeah, it's I think in some schools the belt is just a belt. I don't think it's a symbol.
Yeah.
It's um the thing if this house were to burn down, the thing that I would probably grab my phone first because I'd want to call for help. But assuming I had my phone, it's nearby, it would be my original black belt. Not because it has stripes or anything like that, but because of what it means when I look at it. And I bet you look at your belts the same way.
Mhm. I have a very sad story.
Yeah. Mm.
My, you know, when I got my black belt, it got stolen in my
Mm.
studio. Somebody broke into my studio and just stole everything and took that black belt. And my black belt was like gray color. It's got like rips and it's been shredded, but I loved it, you know. And ever since that belt got stolen, I don't have that attachment to the replacement black belt that I got, you know. And I don't even have name on the black. It's just a plain black belt. I just wear it
Mm.
because when it's time for testing, I have to
Oh
wear a
yeah.
uniform, so I just wear the black belt. But like when I go teach seminars or when I teach somebody else's school, I don't even wear it. You
Really?
know? Yeah.
Do people push back on that?
No. No.
No.
No. If
I have
if
a
I
good
don't.
friend who's going to hear this and he's going to be very excited that you don't wear a belt either. He only wears a belt for testing. People know if he's wearing a belt, big and serious things are happening.
Yeah.
If we're teaching, if we're doing an event together or something, he'll say, "Look, I put a belt on for you."
Yeah. I Ever since I lost that original black belt, it's just all the other black belts don't mean a thing to me. I got promoted by, was it Cheongdakwan or Mudokwan? I think it was Mudokwan, one of the branch from Taekwondo, because Taekwondo is like Cheongdakwan, Jidokwan, Mudokwan, three different
Seven?
branches.
Is it seven kwans?
I don't know. I don't know how
There's a
many.
okay.
Three, four, five. So one of the Kwan decided to give me a 9th degree black belt.
Hmm. It was nice of them. Shiny.
I haven't worn it yet.
You haven't worn it.
It's,
When would you consider that in honorary rank?
yeah, yeah.
How does that feel? What does honorary rank feel like to you?
Well, obviously, the movie Best of the Best, if you read the comments on YouTube or the emails that I get on Facebook or Instagram, oh, it's that movie that made me start taking Taekwondo. And thousands and thousands of people started taking Taekwondo after seeing Best of the Best. So I guess that's why they want to
Mm.
acknowledge what the movie has done, and that's why they're giving me this belt. So I don't want to be rude and say, no, I don't need the belt. If they want to give it to me and have a little ceremony, I'll go there as a guest and I'll accept it and be grateful. And that's all I can do, right? What else can I do? You know?
We need a different symbol of thanks instead of a belt. We need to give, I don't know, capes or something. Maybe a cape would end up going the wrong direction over time. People would start wearing capes. All right, I
Um,
take that idea back. Nobody's allowed to do that. Please don't.
that's funny.
Ah,
Yeah. So, Jeremy,
Simon.
let's finish
Yeah.
this up pretty soon because I have
Yep.
another.
Yep. I was just about to move into the beginning of our close. So,
Yeah.
um, if people want to find your school or your social media or email or any of the things like that, where do they go? What do they type in?
Just Simon Rhee
Okay.
on Facebook or Instagram, then you should be able to find me.
Okay. All right.
Are you
And
are you on social media as your name, Jeremy
I
Lesniak?
am.
Okay,
I am.
I'll look for you.
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
And how do you want to end today? We've been all over the place, which is great because that's what's fun for me. But what do you want the audience to remember or think about as they move on with their day?
Just the conversation that you and I had was between you and I. The audience,
Mm.
whatever if they could get something positive from this conversation that you and I had, please take it and use it. And if you didn't get anything out of it, then I'm sorry, and Jeremy, you should be sorry. Uh, the thing that I learned from Grandmaster Junri is like, um, be honest and have a strong body and be smart. So always learn new things. Always be honest and always keep your body in health. Keep your body healthy because if you take care of those three things, you will have happier life, and that's what Grandmaster Junior preached to me, and I try to live like that. I exercise and keep my body in shape. I try not to be dishonest, and I'm always trying to learn new things, and it's been keeping me happy. So if that's the key to life, I hope if you could use that information, use it and be happy with your life.